So on to character number 5. And he saved the worst for last. And I mean, really. Seriously, he thought that this was going to get by me. He thought that this would be okay. So first, let me preface by saying that I really don't like psionics. They're kinda annoying and they add a new element to the game that's a massive troll for people to deal with, unless you basically say that magic and psionics are equivalent. But on to why you are here. What did he play? I am 99% sure that most of you will have no idea what this is. You ready? He was an 8th level spell to power erudite spell thief. What in the world's an erudite? Well, basically, you're a psionic who can cast magic spells using psi points. He also has no limits on the amounts of spells he can have, but he doesn't gain spells when leveling up. The only way he can gain them is if he makes contact with another wizard and learns the spells that they know and then meditate on them for 8 hours. Okay, kinda weird, but I guess it can work, because I can control when they meet wizards and what spells they know, right? Plus, when he first told me about this and I was confused, he says to me, and I quote, "This character will be more of a support character, so that way everyone can share in the glory." So he has potential. It looks like he's learned from his past mistakes of being an attention hog, only concerned with his character being the most awesomest with the biggest stats. So he shows up with his character knowing literally over 100 spells. And I don't mean a lot of spells. I mean, for the 5 spell levels that he has, 0 to 4th, there are a minimum of 20 spells for each level. Yeah, I counted. What in the world is this? And his reasoning, "I couldn't decide on which ones, so I just got a lot. I read somewhere that you can pay a spellcaster 100 gold or something for them to teach you a spell, so I spent all my starting gold on that." Yeah, of course you would have a lot. I told him right then and there that this is way too much. And keep in mind, everyone is level 8 at this point, and he thinks that this is what an average level 8 character is like? What is wrong with him? At this point, I was kicking myself because of what I should have just done. Start having penalties for dying. I mean, if your level 2 character dies, whatever, just make a new one with the gear, just because it's probably early enough in the campaign that this won't make a difference. What I've decided to do now, because of stuff like this, is when you guys hit level 6, your grace period is over. You die, you start off 3 levels lower than the rest of the party. Not enough to make your character completely useless, but enough that you won't have him just jump off a cliff to get a better character. Oh, and of course, he has no stats below a 12, and 3 stats at 16. And his character was coming in with like 85 side points or something like that, meaning under those rules, this level 8 character could cast 85 first level spells or 12 4th level spells. How many spell slots total does an 8th level wizard have? 12. Assuming no other bonuses. You starting to see how broken this was? So the party meets him and begin a fight with a super powerful drow wizard and some cultists. Problem player is support, right? Well, maybe he casts bear endurance on the rogue, or stone skin on the monk, or he can polymorph himself into a hydra and cast all the buffs on himself to try and take on every bad guy at once. You know, like a support. But wait, the bard is at a really low HP. Surely this all-powerful demigod of a man has something in his pocket he can use to heal because he is support. 1 spell. Up to 6 people can gain 1 hit point a round for a minute. His only healing spell. Though in all honesty, him doing that basically gave me full license to have the most powerful drow start throwing fireballs at him, and he couldn't argue it, even when he almost died. So the party, now including a druid because a new player joined up, head to the capital city of the human world. I was going to give them a few sessions to mess around and side quests there for a bit, and the druid was the best thing that could have happened to this party because he showed them that they could go do their own things. He was the same DM who knew immediately that Problem Player was making up a whole bunch of rules and came on to look after the party. On his own initiative, he was volunteering at the local hospital, as well as farms to boost crops production with magic. Everyone was having a blast. To give the arcane magic users something to do, I told Problem Player and the Bard about the Tower of High Sorcery, where they could join the Mages Guild. Now, this next part is undoubtedly the stupidest thing Problem Player ever did in this campaign, even worse than charging a dragon. He asked around to see if anyone could make him a ring. He didn't roll great for investigation, so I had one of the students tell him that he knew a girl who was very good at making rings, but that she was part of the black-robed wizards. In case you don't know, the wizards from the Tower of High Sorcery are divided into 3 groups: the good and holy white robes, the thoughtful and neutral red robes, and the black robes, who are evil and deceitful. This is a known fact. A commoner would know this. I had the wizard tell him that he wouldn't trust this black-robed wizard. So Problem Player seeks her out and pays up front for the ring. He just thrusts a sack of 5,000 gold into her face and says, "Make this ring for me, please." This woman looks at him confused and pulls out a random ring from her pouch and says, yeah, I already have one. Here you go." And of course, he doesn't check to see if it's cursed. It was. Again, you can't really blame me for doing that. He literally walked up to someone who he knew would be sketchy at best to buy a ring and then doesn't have the foresight to check and see if it was accurate. Well, the next day, Problem Player and the Bard get underway with their trials to join the guild, and I decided to use this as an opportunity to tell Problem Player exactly what he was doing wrong. I had the head wizard explain their failings to them, making a special note on not thinking things through or questioning suspicious things before he destroyed the cursed ring. I had hoped that this would help Problem Player play a bit better. It did not. Now, he was angry at the girl for messing with him and his money, and he wanted to get revenge. Okay, maybe he will have some good role-playing bits and start thinking through ways of fighting off a more powerful wizard. That was not the case. Instead, he goes up to her while she's working and just starts to act creepily nice. He'd stare at her for minutes on end, not saying anything, just watching her, following her, actively seeking her out. "What are you working on? Do you need any help?" And just so we're perfectly clear, when I say creepy, I mean creepy. When he wanted to, this guy could make you feel real uncomfortable. I remember honestly thinking that he might just have his way with this NPC with the way that he was acting, staring at me with these wide-eyed, unblinking stares and creepy serial killer smiles. He never did, and luckily that was never his intent. He was just a very weird and creepy dude when he wanted to be. And he just keeps doing this for days on end in-game. So eventually I ask him, what in the world is he doing? His reasoning: if I act creepily nice to her, she will either get so annoyed that she will publicly admit her deed, then be hated, or she will repent because I took the high road and then we'll be friends. No. Just no. Flaw number 1. If you keep making her angry like this, why wouldn't she just throw a thunderbolt up your butt? Oh, I didn't think about that. Flaw number 2. People already don't trust her. She goes around wearing evil black robes, so her admitting that she did that probably won't harm her that much, if at all. She is publicly known as being evil. And on top of that, flaw number 3. Why would she care if she was hated? Do other evil wizards not do evil things because other people don't like it? Didn't really think that one through, did you, buddy? But if I make a really high diplomacy check, she will become my friend, and I rolled 30 because of this thing. Not really how that works. See, there is what the rules say that what happens, and what would actually happen. Diplomacy can't turn the evil lich good in one roll, or even 10 rolls. You can give as many heart-filled speeches as you want, but Asmodeus is still going to light your butt on fire because it would be funny. At the end of the day, it's up to the DM to decide what would happen, or even if a roll should occur in the first place. This last story is what finally made the party say tell me to let problem player go, or they were going to leave. While they were split in town, the monk got kidnapped by a group of devils and was being tortured. The druid overheard a rumor about a monk and immediately started searching for him, going back to the rest of the party to let them know what was up. Problem player was late to the session, so he wasn't here yet. So the rest of the party had an awesome mission, sneaking past guards, scaling buildings, and fighting off a massive bone devil. Near the end of the fight, problem player showed up, and I told him that from the Tower of High Sorcery he could hear a massive explosion. When he got there, he sees the party jumping off of a building, and he runs over there. Their reaction? "Oh my goodness, Assyria was framed for murder. We just killed Satan, and there are 100 more devils on their way. We need to get out of here." His response? "Okay, you know where I'll be." And he left to go back to the Tower of High Sorcery. While everyone was figuring out what in the world to do and healing the monk, he was learning a new spell. Okay, maybe he's learning a new spell to help the group in their fight against the devils. Nope. After the 8-hour meditation session, he says, "I will have some supper, then I'm going to bed." Okay, the night passes and you wake up. What do you want to do? "I'm going to have some breakfast, and then I'm going to look for that girl who took my money." When the party heard that, the bard said, "You know what? I go to the tower and find problem player and tell him that we need help." Only then did problem player decide to rejoin the party. When they all got together, problem player cast 5 or 6 buffs on himself and none on the party, as supports do. At this point, the whole party wanted him out. I mean, he literally ditched the party when he knew for a fact that A, they were in trouble, B, this was the main thing going on in the city. No. His own plot about creepily talking to a girl is so much more important. No, that's not right. He is just more important. The rest of the party, just filler. Does he care about them? No. They just get in the way of him killing things and showing how he does 60 damage a turn. Oh, and one more side tangent about his cheating. He is the worst kind of rules lawyer. See, he learned the rules to D&D very quickly. Now, it's always good to have someone who knows the rules to the game on hand, especially if the DM is new. However, you know exactly the kind of person I'm talking about. Actually, I can do this as a swift action, and then take a 5-foot step back as a free action, meaning that he can't take any action or else he gets tripped." Except ever since winter break, he's gotten worse. He will make sure that everyone else follows the rules to the T, jumping down their throats if they do anything illegal. But if the rules do anything that harm him, then he conveniently forgets about it. Let's look at a few examples, shall we? Because he's a spell thief, with the Master Spell Thief feat, he could steal up to level 3 spells when he was level 7. But he stole a level 4 spell at one point, so I asked him about it. He said, "Well, this feat lets me use my character level instead of my class level when stealing spells." Right, and a level 7 spell thief can only steal up to level 3 spells. They can't steal level 4 spells until level 8. Oh, I didn't know that. Right, I guess the basic math of your level divided by 2 equals the level of spell you can steal was a bit much for you. Another instance was his usage of meta magic in the game. The way it worked in 3.5e was, depending on the spell effect that you wanted to use, like extending a spell's duration, it would raise the spell slot needed to cast to that level. So casting invisibility on yourself for 24 hours would be the level invisibility plus 7 levels for the new effect. The other DM pointed that out to me, so I went back and did a read up on the erudite class since I wasn't entirely sure if he was using meta magic or meta psionics to accomplish most of the abilities that he was using. But when I read it, I noticed that they specifically couldn't use any meta magic feats. So maybe it was meta psionics. Well, no, that couldn't be it either, because there is no meta psionics that lets spells last 24 hours. On top of that, the persistent spell meta magic ability he had been using would have required him to expend 9th or 10th level spell spots, which an 8th level character could never have. So when I asked him about it, he was quick to feign ignorance of such a small rule, like what spell slots he would have, and meekly offers to switch over to the meta psionics, and was disheartened when I informed him that he wouldn't have persistent spell then, so he can't turn invisible for 24 hours. And it's not for another 2 minutes later when I have to ask him about another weird psionic thing that I don't think he should have been able to do. Well, according to the Complete Psionics Handbook, I am allowed to do this if I pay enough power points and do some other craziness. Here, I'll show you. So he remembered the page from the non-core rulebook that lets him do some random craziness, but he can't remember his spell slot limit? Something that most any spellcasters should know? Does he even remember any of the negative aspects of his class? Nope. And this has been a consistent pattern across every game we played, not just D&D. Anything that would hamper him insta-killing anything is conveniently forgotten. But if anyone else does well in anything, no. Something has to be wrong, and he will comb the rules to show you exactly why you are wrong and why you stink. So this was the final straw. His selective memory when it came to the rules, along with his broken character and his complete disregard to the party, just became too much. At this point, either he didn't know that what he was doing was wrong, in which case, I can't help you. Or, he did know what he was doing, and in that case, forget you, you're a jerk. I finally said enough is enough and told him not to come back anymore to any of the games. And that was it. 5 characters in 1 year before he was booted from the group. I will remind you that the deck was stacked completely in his favor with magic items and super obscure classes and feats, and he still lost 4 characters. The rest of the party, still on their first, with their 3d6 in order. It goes to show, D&D is not a video game where higher numbers means you are better than your party. Now, this actually wasn't the last time I saw a problem player, but that's another story. I don't know what's wrong with him. I'm not sure what his aim is, but the blatant lying really irks me. On the other hand, I'm also confused on how the DM allowed his character to exist in the first place, especially with a more senior DM to back him up. I guess it's good when the whole party is in agreement, but that guy should have been stopped sooner. What do you all think?